So the iPhone 15 Pro Max was officially released this past Friday. I've been using it since Friday, and I'm recording this around Tuesday. So it's been, what, let's say Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Well, we'll call it a 72-hour review because a lot of these thoughts and opinions were formed over the last 72 hours. I wanted to do just a quick little mini review. This isn't like a full review by any means. It's a mini 72-hour review, just kind of giving you more impressions after like using this all day for the past 3 to 4 days. And so, yeah, let's start with there's always controversy. Let's start with the controversy. And there's been a lot of it around the heat of the new titanium models. Again, this is the 15 Pro Max. My phone got really hot when trying to charge with a random USB-C cable that I found and using in my wife's car and also using CarPlay at the same time. I unplugged it. It felt like 1,000,000 degrees. The edges were actually very, very warm, much more so than like my 13 or 14 Pro Max. And the phone was kind of useless. It was pretty unresponsive. This is what happens when the phones overheat. Did the same thing on my way home a few hours later, and the temperature was honestly totally fine. In my car, I like to wirelessly charge. I have a Tesla Model 3. That charger kind of sucks. My iPhone 14 Pro Max would always get really hot when using that charger, and it would never really charge. Kind of like maintains the percentage that you currently have, or maybe gains like a couple in like a 30-minute trip, let's say. Same thing happens with the 15 Pro Max. However, I noticed it doesn't get nearly as warm, a little bit. So the whole controversy was like, this phone gets really, really hot. And so here are instances where I've had it one time get really, really hot. And then in my normal daily time where it like should get hot, it actually hasn't. So I don't really know where I stand with it other than I think the whole getting warm thing is kind of blowing out of proportion, but everyone is different. I don't know how many of those reports, where those units come from. Are those more like EU or China? Like, I don't know where those phones come from. I'm in the US. This phone seems to be totally fine. There was that one issue where I do notice that when it gets hot, it gets really hot. But for the most part, it's been actually really, really good. I haven't noticed anything out of the ordinary with temperatures while scrolling social media. I think a lot of people said like they were watching Instagram reels for 10 minutes and their phone would get really, really hot. I watch YouTube videos on it. I use my phone like normal. Definitely a lot of TikTok. I haven't noticed anything at all. The new design is amazing. I know this sounds like an exaggeration. You're like, how can a design change that's so minimal? It's not that substantial, but it really does make a huge difference for me. So when I go back and pick up something like my iPhone 14 Pro Max or my wife's 13 Pro Max, it just feels way more uncomfortable in the hand compared to the 15. And it's just, again, a lot lighter. It's wild that this makes this much of a difference, but it really, really does. Of course, none of this really matters as much if you're somebody who puts a case on it. I don't, but I appreciate the changes that are made here, and hopefully you can too. And honestly, live your best life. Take it out of the case. Enjoy, because it's so much better in the hands. Now, as for the color, this is the natural titanium, and I really like it. I also really like the blue, but I think I'm going to be really happy with the natural because I've noticed it's barely showing any smudges or fingerprints or oils or anything from your hands compared to some of the other models. I haven't dropped this phone yet. I know a lot of controversy has been around that. Great news. It's been 3 or 4 days. Haven't dropped it. I have no idea how the durability is going to be long term. We'll find that out later. Now, there have been drop tests done all over YouTube. You can go check those out if you want to. I'm not dropping my phone for no reason. Apparently, the back glass is more susceptible to breaking. I know Jerry Rig Everything did a video where he did his normal like bend test, and obviously the phone didn't bend, but the back glass did break rather quickly, and it didn't survive his blowtorch test, which, I mean, none of that matters to me. If you're worried about your phone breaking, then get Apple Care, or even better yet, just put on a case. All right, so a few rapid fire things that I want to touch on after a brief few days with the phone. Battery life has been weirdly better for me than expected. The first day, you know, you kind of set it up, you're using it a lot. It was kind of on average and on par with the iPhone 14 Pro Max, but then I had an update. There was a day one update, and I'm not sure if that changed things or if the phone is just naturally better with battery life over my 14 Pro Max, but I've noticed that like, let's say the first half of the day, so from like 7 a.m. to noon, 1 p.m. my time, the battery is like at 70% already with very minimal use. I mean, I probably use it a little bit more in the mornings than I should, but then from like 9 to 12, I'm not using it that much. And I'm already at like 70%. With the iPhone 15 Pro Max, I've been at like 89, 85 at the worst, which is pretty good, obviously. We'll have to see kind of how it holds up long term, but so far I'm really into the battery life. It's been working out really well for me. The camera is very good. Full review on that one soon, but so far really digging the images coming out of the lenses, especially the 5x telephoto lens here on the Pro Max. Also, really into the new ProRes log video recording. If you want to get some cinematic looks on your iPhone and use custom LUTs for your footage, this is the way. I just, recording as much as I did over the last few days was kind of tough because the file sizes are massive. So I highly recommend using the new feature where you can plug in, because of the USB-C port, you can record to an external SSD. So definitely recommend doing that if you plan to use log a whole bunch. I think at max, I can get 51 minutes, and then I'm guessing that just takes up my entire iPhone storage. This is a 512 iPhone, so I probably won't want to do that all too often. I got my footage, took it off and put it on my computer and then deleted it so that I had my storage back. Also USB-C, that was really my only instance of using it. And the speeds were pretty good. Transferred it pretty fast, considering that the file sizes were pretty massive. I think I had like 17 clips and it was like 30 or 40 gigs. That's pretty intense there. Lastly, the action button, it's been a work in progress for me for the most part. I'm trying to figure out, I know I want to use it with shortcuts, but I'm trying to figure out what would be the most useful shortcut for me. And honestly, I think the route is create a custom shortcut that creates a shortcut share sheet so that I have even more shortcuts available. I know there's a few extra tabs involved, but I don't know, or I could just leave it on the camera, which is what I've been doing, and I really like it. No accidental presses either. I think Apple knew what they were doing when they put it on the press and hold, because I haven't been activating the camera for no reason. Obviously, pretty big fan so far, but I'll do a proper review in the next few weeks. But I'm really liking the iPhone 15 Pro Max, and yeah, I want to hear from you in the comments down below. What are you thinking with these new phones? Did you get one? What are your thoughts? Are you planning on upgrading? Let me know down in those comments. This has been Dan with MacRumors. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you around in the next video.